Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Land of Stories Chapter 1 Day to all you who celebrate.
Is that a federal or a state holiday?
Federal, obviously.
I wasn't sure.
Federal for sure.
I didn't know if, things had changed since last shot.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. How are you all today? Oh yeah, I need a book club right now. First closed book grad. Oh wow, Eesh, that sounds awful, Grace. That truly sounds horrific.
What does?
She has her first closed book grad school exam soon. That's
Closed
not
book.
fun. Yeah.
They're not letting you look inside the book anymore?
No, apparently not.
What?
Hey, Jen.
What cheating methods are you employing?
What cheating methods are you employing? Don't teach her to cheat.
No. Memorizing stuff's a waste of time for the most part.
She's a scientist. She's got to memorize something.
A scientist will always have access.
Typically, they get at
technology.
least notes for method purposes.
The idea of memorizing stuff is antiquated.
Yeah. You tell him.
Old man yells at cloud.
Oh, that's right. We gotta go to Costco.
Fun.
Either tonight or tomorrow night.
Friday night Costco run.
Woohoo!
Woo! Party people.
That's right. So we're almost out of half an hour.
Don't be jealous of this.
Don't be jealous. Costco on a Friday night. I could also go today. I mean, because you have to work. What happened to Cindy? I want to know. All the filtered comment is true. Dinner was lovely. We went to Shabu Shabu with some friends. Aw, thank you, Sarah. He did an amazing job picking out this ring. It's very, very, very beautiful and very sparkly.
So sparkle.
So sparkly.
And here's the thing.
What?
I had to put so many quarters into the plug-in.
To get the right one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you think that you could just, like, if it's right on top, you're going to get it right away, but certain costs,
25 cents times 42.
About like 130 tries.
130. It took you 130 tries. You're not very good at that game.
I'm terrible at plug-in.
Jeez Louise.
But that's just the commitment that I'm making to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your commitment to getting me a ring from the claw machine. Diana said she can't even imagine how many quarters you used. Dedication. I know, right? Morning, Cass. It's a great story. Do you have your book for signed copies? So I got an alert from Amazon, I'm not supposed to say that, from them. Actually, a bunch of copies are being delivered tomorrow. Some are being delivered Saturday and some are being delivered Sunday. So I think all the pre-orders should be mailed out by Monday is what it sounds like. If some are delivering all the way through Sunday. So that's not so bad. It's not great, but it's not the worst either. The first, I think the first 50 are delivering tomorrow. So we'll send out the first 50 orders and then we'll go on from there. Happy coffee. You're welcome. I'm going to be, oh wait, hold on. Something came up in front of Jen's comment. Today is going to be my Read Sasha's book day. Yay! Tell me everything, please, and thank you. If it wasn't your book, I'd say tell them you want a refund. I know, right? I should be finishing my book this weekend, so hopefully I'll be hearing. Oh yeah, I mean it should be pretty fast to get to everybody. After I once I have things in hand, I ship pretty quickly. I think everybody's pretty comfortable with that. It's just me getting them. Say that again. Yeah, we can assembly line it. I need a decompression day. Oh, it's actually a perfect decompression book. It's very fun and light. Do I see a ring? You do see a ring. Is it late enough they think they'll typically refund you in the week? Not yet. If they don't deliver by the 24th, they said they would refund me anyway. They said if your shipment does not arrive by the 24th, come back the next day and we will refund.
Who said that? Support?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I got the email about that. You know this?
Oh.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Do I get another copy other than the one I ordered? I'm trying to calculate if I need to order another. You do not need to order another because remember, I want to get you one with your name corrected. 106 is considered low grade, right? I think so. But the moms in here would answer better for me than me. For me, Jesus. Jesus Cristo. What's everyone drinking this morning? Everyone got their coffee? 104 is considered low grade?
104? That's a high fever. What?
Amanda's saying 100.6 is considered very, very low.
100.6, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a low grade fever.
Yeah. I don't have a fever, no. Anya has a fever apparently, but not me. I'm perfectly fine. But all my friends are sick.
Really?
Yeah.
They have children?
They do. Well, Anya doesn't. No, she does not. But she did have to go to a celebration of life recently, so there were a lot of people there.
Celebration of life.
Like what we did for Ross.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not drinking anything because in the chaos I forgot my drink at home. No! Yeah, 104 would be a different story. You're right. 104 sounds awful. Look at our new leaf baby. Do you see this new leaf baby? We're growing a new leaf with some red on it. It's a red and purple and whatever.
Look at our new ones opening up. Right
And we have new Monstera leafies too.
See the new one right there?
Yeah, they're beautiful, huh? 100.4, not 100.4. Yes, that's fair. That's a fair correction. I see why you might want to make that correction. Totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah, so I dedicated my newest slime to our plant babies. Did you see that? I made a slime called Plant Parent.
I didn't see that.
It's scented like garden soil, and it's got little flowers on it, and it's crunchy,
Ooh.
like dirt. And it also has perlite in it, which... Yeah, you're correcting me. Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, you were making the correction on me. It's got perlite in it, which apparently is a plant food also.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing, Grace. I wanted her slime. I said,
What is
yay.
perlite?
I'm telling you, make more of that one. Yeah. No, don't. There's no Hunger Games, Jen. Don't even worry. What'd you say?
What is perlite?
What is perlite, Grace? My brother is, Rosie. We got an email from my brother this morning asking about our phones. Perlite is more for drainage. I'm still amused by the amount of times you say amazing, Grace. What?
What happened to your brother?
Huh?
What happened to your brother?
His phone's not working. Apparently cells are having outages today.
What phone?
Just cell phones
In New York?
in general. Rosie's here in California. And hers was
Really?
affected.
Did OpenAI's?
Yeah, Jen, I think so. AT&T has a nationwide outage, but I have AT&T and I wasn't affected. My sister has AT&T and she wasn't affected, and my mom has it and she wasn't affected, but my brother has AT&T and he was affected.
Maybe I'm roaming on.
No. Uh-uh. Wait, what's happening today? Because last night, wait, what? Some T-Mobile and Verizon.
Actually, no.
Perlite's actually made from volcanic glass. Very cool. That is very good. Apparently it's only 1% of customers, but my brother just got unlucky. Oh, you're in SOS mode, but it's working because you're on Wi-Fi? Huh, weird. It is random.
I'm on Wi-Fi too. Maybe it's fine. That one's working.
Yeah. Perlite is made specifically for slime. I agree, Ashley. I have no other use for it. He went boneless on the bus. Oh, no, not boneless. You're home on Wi-Fi. Yeah. Do you want to do a smoothie dance? Thank you, Em. How is everyone this morning? Hey, Quincy. Oh, no. Am I gonna... I won't show it. Don't worry.
So, like,
Oh,
so just both of them being absolute.
insane.
No, but like, what is
That's wild.
the
Well-
amount of stupidity on both their fronts?
We'll talk about it after. Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We'll talk to them after this. Yes, they're not behaving like adults. What movie, Jen? What movie? Becca, we're only reading chapter 1. I know you didn't hear the prologue, but I think you can still hang around and listen to the prologue later.
Dance?
Yeah, we're gonna smoothie dance. Smoothie dance. Everyone get ready to smoothie dance. know about it, Jen. What do we think this is doing? Even though I have a perfectly well-contained bun, this one piece decides it always wants to get out. I don't understand that.
Do it one more time.
Yeah, no worries.
I forgot something.
No worries. Be happy.
Oh, you know.
I know, I know. I know, I know. I've been home with the kids for too long. I'm adding headphones to my Amazon cart. Oh no, that's fair. That's fair. Do you want the link to the ones that I have? I love mine. My headphones are great. We're very happy together, my headphones and I. My headphones were cheap. They work well. They're cute. And they have, yeah, Becca, the kids ones, yeah. They're great. I love my headphones. They were like $19 and they work extremely well. Hey Zelda, are you back home? Are you in the United States of America? Are they house canceling? Pretty close. Secret Fiance can sneak up on me when I'm wearing them, right?
I can and I do.
He tries not to though. He tries to like stomp when he comes in the room yesterday so that he doesn't scare me. Because I startle so easily. Someone online is guilt tripping me because I can't keep the stray. That's terrible, Cindy. That's not okay.
Guilt tripping you because of what?
Someone is guilt tripping her because she can't keep a stray, like someone found a stray dog and Cindy can't care for it. And they're like trying to guilt her into caring for it. That's not your, I mean like that. You can't rescue everything.
You can't take care of a dog.
You can't rescue everything.
No. You can't, I mean,
That's not fair. That's not fair. It would be lovely if there were no situations like that ever, but that is not the reality, and it's not, you didn't make it a stray dog. It's not your responsibility. Yeah, that's not fair, Cindy. Don't listen to that.
No, those people are idiots.
Same, Jen. That's what I always say.
Right?
Yeah, smoothie dance time. Yeah, seriously, tell them to go get the dog. It is a complex smoothie dance. You're right. Good morning, Shandy. All right, we did a smoothie dance, and now we are going to read chapter 1 of Land of Stories, book 6. If you have not been with us for the previous Land of Stories books, know that all of the chapters are uploaded to my YT, the app that does long form videos. Under Rainbow Slime Girl, there's an entire playlist called The Land of Stories, and they're all in there for you to listen to, including the prologue from yesterday is already up there. So let's get into it and let us read chapter 1. Here we go. It's called Distress Call from the Public Library. It was a typical afternoon at the main branch of the New York Public Library. Oh, thank you so much. Look at how pretty it is. It's so matchy, the straw.
How's it taste?
Wonderful. What's that big thing in it?
Ice cube.
Oh, an ice cube.
Because you take longer.
Oh,
2 ice cubes, actually.
you're right.
Does it taste better than usual?
It tastes good.
Not better than usual.
Same.
Same, really. Interesting.
I taste the carrots. They're delicious. I love carrots. 10 out of 10 would eat carrots. Does it taste better than usual to you? Okay, great. It tastes better than usual. It's for what yeah. Now everyone wants to know if you added a quail egg.
Not a quail egg.
A chicken egg?
Chicken.
I'm drinking a chicken egg. Gold. Did you add gold?
I should.
How's your coffee?
Ah, amazing, like always. So amazing.
So, apparently we're in New York City, you guys. The marble halls of the world-famous structure echoed with the footsteps of obnoxious tourists, restless college students, and noisy groups of elementary school students on field trips. Tour guides shared little-known facts about the library's expansive history and refrained from rolling their eyes at questions about movies that had been filmed there. Librarians gave directions to the renowned reading rooms on the upper floors and reminded the guests that library books were not allowed in the bathroom. There was absolutely nothing to suggest that anything strange or peculiar might occur later that evening, but strange and peculiar events rarely give any warning before they happen. Security guard Rudy Lewis began his 4 p.m. to midnight shift patrolling the library's entrance on Fifth Avenue. He yelled at teenagers for climbing on Patience and Fortitude, the iconic lion statues that flank the library's sprawling steps. He kindly asked the homeless people sleeping beside the fountain to continue their naps at the shelter down the street, and once they obliged, he went back to the statues and yelled at a new gang of teenagers for climbing on them. Once the library closed and was cleared out, Rudy spent the rest of his shift patrolling the interior. For hours and hours, Rudy walked up and down vacant halls of the 4-level structure, inspecting its various forums, galleries, studies, and stairwells. 5 minutes before the end of his shift, he was positive there wasn't another soul in the library and was eager to hand his duties off to the next security guard. But as he made his final inspection of the 3rd floor, Rudy discovered he was mistaken. At the end of a long, dark hallway, the security guard found a young woman standing alone. Oh no, Becca. Hi, Ellie. Mwah. She wore a sparkling white dress and had strawberry blonde hair. Her head was bowed as if she had fallen asleep standing up. At first, the sight of the young woman startled Rudy. He had walked past this part of the library a dozen times and hadn't seen anyone before now. It was like the young woman had appeared out of thin air. "Excuse me," he said. "What are you doing?" The young woman didn't respond. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Rudy said. The angry security guard shined his flashlight on the young woman to get her attention, but she didn't move. Once she was illuminated, Rudy could see that she was trembling and her skin was pale as a ghost's. For a split second, he worried that she was a ghost. His co-workers had always warned him that the library was haunted, but until now, he had no reason to believe them. "The library's closed," Rudy's voice cracked as he spoke. "Unless you're an employee, you're trespassing on city property." Still, the young woman neither looked up nor said a word. Her silence was making Rudy paranoid. The longer he stood in her presence, the creepier the young woman became. The fate of every security guard in every horror film flashed before Rudy's eyes, but he mustered the courage to approach the strange young woman. "I'm gonna call the police if you don't say something." Suddenly, the young woman gasped and jerked her head up, causing Rudy to jump. She frantically looked around in a panic, as if waking from a bad dream. "Where am I?" she panted. "You're at the library," Rudy said, but that only confused her more. "The library? Which library?" "The New York Public Library at 5th Avenue and East 42nd Street, Rudy said. "Oh no," the young woman cried. "You have to get me out of here. Something terrible is about to happen." "What are you talking about? How did you even get in here?" I don't know what she has planned, but you've got to go before she makes me hurt you," the young woman pleaded. "Please, you have to listen to me. I cannot control it." Tears spilled out of her blue eyes and rolled down her face. "Who are you talking about?" Rudy asked. "No one's in here but you and me." "The witch who cursed me. She put me under some kind of spell that makes me do things, awful things." "Lady, you are clearly on a lot of drugs," Rudy said. "I'm taking you outside and I'm calling the cops." "You have to get my brother. He's the only one who can help. His name is Connor Bailey. He should be at St. Andrew's Children's Hospital in Willow Crest." Yeah, Rudy said. He grabbed her arm. "This city's full of places that help people like you, but you can't stay here." The security guard tried to escort her to the exit, but the young woman wouldn't budge. He pulled on her arm with all his might, but she stayed exactly where she was, as if she were glued to the floor. "It's too late," the young woman said. "The spell, I can feel it coming. The witch must be close. Please, you have to run." To the security guard's horror, the young woman's eyes rolled back in her head and began to glow. Her hair rose above her head and floated in the air like a slowly flickering fire. After all his years in security, Rudy had never seen anything like this before. "What the heck is happening to you?"
The young woman placed a palm on his chest, and a bright blast erupted from her hand, knocking him all the way down the hall. As Rudy lay on the floor, his whole body tingling as if he had just been electrocuted, his vision was blurry and fading fast. With all his remaining strength, in the few moments of consciousness he had left, Rudy reached for his radio and held it against his mouth. "Police!" he wheezed. We need a police at the library, now!" Within minutes, Fifth Avenue was illuminated by red and blue lights as 2 police cars sped towards the library. A policeman emerged from the first vehicle and a policewoman from the second. The officers hurried up the front steps with their guns raised. "I just got the call. What's the situation?" the policewoman asked. "We don't know," the policeman said. "A distress call came from somewhere inside the library. Approach with caution." "Oh, my God," the policewoman gasped. "Look!" The officer pointed to the library's entrance at the large doors that were slowly opening on their own. A moment later, the young woman in a white dress levitated through the doors and landed at the top of the library's front steps. Even in New York City, the police weren't accustomed to seeing someone with glowing eyes and floating hair coming out of a building. Once the initial shock faded, the officers knelt behind a lion statue and aimed their weapons at her. "Hands up!" the policeman ordered. The young woman did not follow his instructions. Instead, she pointed at the statues, and 2 powerful bolts of lightning struck the lions. The police dived into the ground to avoid getting hit. "Well, what was that?" the policeman asked. "Lightning," the policewoman said. "But I don't understand. There aren't even any clouds in the sky." Once the officers helped each other to their feet, they jerked their heads towards the strange crackling noise coming from the statues. They watched in astonishment as the lions stood up from their perches, leapt into the air, and landed on the front steps in front of the young woman, blocking the officers from coming any closer. The statues roared so loudly that they set off the car alarms within a block. "Holy crap," the policeman said. The statues are alive? How is it possible?" The policewoman clicked on her radio over her shoulder. "Officer Sanchez to dispatch," she said. "The library is under attack. I repeat, the library is under attack. We need all available units to join us immediately." "Copy, Officer Sanchez," a voice responded over the radio. "All available units have been notified. Are you able to identify who or what is beyond the attack?" Still in disbelief, the policewoman hesitated to respond. It's magic," she said breathlessly. "The library is being attacked by magic." Accidental, yet unexplainable. The Willowcrest Fire Department had never seen an incident like the one at St. Andrew's Children's Hospital. The firefighters were called in the middle of the night to view the damage from a reported explosion, but when they arrived, they had no idea what they were looking at. There weren't any flames to extinguish, there was hardly any debris to clear, and the remaining walls of the hospital weren't blackened or singed by the alleged blast. As far as they could tell, the women's bathroom hadn't exploded as much as it had vanished. "It's not damaged, it's just missing," one firefighter said to the other. "If there's been an explosion, this place would have been covered in bits of porcelain, but there's not a piece of the bathroom anywhere. The hospital staff swears a fully functional bathroom was right here just a few hours ago," the second firefighter said. "If it wasn't an explosion, what could have removed it so quickly?" The firefighters asked around the hospital, but no one had witnessed the phenomenon, further complicating the strange situation. They checked the grounds surrounding the hospital in case the bathroom had been detached by some sort of tractor, but there were no tracks on the ground. "What should I put in the report?" the first firefighter asked the second. The hospital's insurance company is going to need something from us, but I can't exactly say that the bathroom got up and walked away." Right, accidental yet unexplained, the second firefighter said. "I think this case is way above our pay grade. They're going to need an investigation to get to the bottom of this. A thorough investigation." With no further assessments to make, the firefighters taped off the area and gave the hospital manager the contact information for a destruction investigator who lived in the next town. The specialist wasn't available for another week, so the missing bathroom remained a giant and mysterious hole until his arrival. The scene was completely untouched until the middle of the night until midnight on the eve of the inspector's visit. A 15-year-old young man stepped over the yellow tape and had a seat in the doorway that led to nowhere. His eyes were baggy, his heart was heavy, and he hunched in the weight of the world that rested on his shoulders. Deep in thought, he gazed through the large hole at the buildings of downtown Willowcrest in the distance. The young man had hoped if he returned to the missing bathroom, it might provide answers to the questions that were haunting him. Unfortunately, all the answers had disappeared with the bathroom. "Hey, Connor!" A 16-year-old young woman suddenly peered into the hospital from outside, almost giving Connor a heart attack. She wore a purple beanie and had blonde hair with a streak of pink and blue at the front. "Bree," Connor said, "what are you doing here? I thought you were grounded for running away." "Oh, I am," Bree said. "I'm not allowed to leave the house until college. I've never seen my parents so furious. As far as they know, I just snuck off to visit family in Connecticut. I can't imagine how they'd react if they knew we flew to Germany and back." "What if you get caught sneaking out?" Connor asked. "Don't worry, I won't," Bree said. "I've been sneaking out of the house since I was 8. I put a wax head on my pillow and I leave a cassette playing someone snoring in case my..." "A cassette? A cassette? Bree, what year is this?" "I leave a cassette playing of someone snoring in case my parents check on my bedroom." "That's both impressive and scary," Connor said. Bree shrugged. "It's just like Laurel Thatcher Ulrich said, well-behaved women seldom make history." She climbed into the hospital, carefully stepping onto the remaining floorboards so she didn't fall into the basement below, and had a seat next to Connor in the doorway. "You weren't home, so I figured that I'd find you here," she said. "I wanted to take one last look at the damage before the inspector starts digging around tomorrow," he said. Just in case there was something we missed." "Any luck finding Alex?" "Not at all," Connor said with a sigh. "It's been a week since she disappeared and we haven't found a single clue as to where she went. My mom and stepdad have looked all over town, but there's no signs of her. Jack, Red, and Lester are searching the fairy tale world as we speak, but they haven't returned with anything." "It's so bizarre," Bree said. "I barely know her, but it seems so out of character for her to run off like that. Has she ever done anything like this before?" Connor's knee-jerk reaction was to defend his sister's reputation, but the more he thought about it, the more he remembered that this wasn't entirely unlike her to go missing. Sort of, he recalled. "Alex went through this weird phase not too long ago. She would get overwhelmed about something and lose control of her powers, but the circumstances were so different. She was really stressed out and easily provoked." "What was she stressed out about?" "Well, it was back when we were searching the fairy tale world for our Uncle Lloyd," he explained. "All her hunches about him were right, but nobody wanted to believe her. The fairy council thought she was becoming reckless, so they ordered her to stop looking for him, and Alex got so upset that she disappeared into a ball of flames, but she resurfaced a couple days later." "Oh," Bree said, "so maybe it isn't really out of character." "Disappearing, maybe, but she's not the type who abandons her friends in their hour of need," Connor said. "Things are finally looking up for a change. We had just recruited all the characters from my stories. We are finally ready to fight the literary army in the fairy tale world. So why would she vanish now?" "Makes no sense." "Well, the detective in me wants to believe that your uncle had something to do with it, especially if he was the reason behind her previous outbursts," Bree said. "But Emmerich and I were with him the entire time he was in the other world. Alex never laid eyes on him. If she was provoked, it was by someone else." Connor nodded. "Yeah, that's what I've been trying to figure out." Alex's behavior puzzled them as much as the vanished bathroom puzzled the fire department. And just like the firefighters, they knew they were missing a piece of the story. Unfortunately, there was no specialist that they could call to help them in Alex's disappearance. "So how are all the characters doing?" Bree asked. "Well, they're a little stir crazy from being cooped up in the commissary," Connor said. "We have to let them outside for fresh air and shifts so no one gets suspicious. Bob's been teaching the Merry Men and the Lost Boys how to play football at the park to burn off some energy. Mom's re-wrapped all the mummies with fresh bandages, so the commissary smells a lot better now. The cyborgs have blown every fuse in the hospital from using the outlets too much, and the Ziblings have been patrolling downtown at night to get their hero fix, so the city's crime rate has gone down. There's that at least. Starbordia's pirates found a television and have been watching I Love Lucy reruns non-stop. It annoys everyone else, but at least it keeps them occupied. Hey, Renee!" "I'm glad everyone's hanging in there," Bree said. I can't imagine what it's like for you. Being in the cemetery of the undead for a couple hours was surreal enough for me, but you've been surrounded by your creations for days. It's gotta feel like a trippy family reunion. You know, once you've seen your elderly grandmother slay a dragon, everything else kind of pales in comparison. Connor laughed. Speaking of family reunions, did Cornelia and Emmerich get to Germany safely? It was so kind of her to offer him a ride home. Yeah, thankfully, Bree said. Cornelia, Emmerich, and Frau Hemmelsbach were very happy to be reunited. They're also moving to Austria to get as far away from Neuschwanstein Castle as possible. Wanda and Frenda have been stranded in Bavaria since your Uncle Lloyd kidnapped us, so Cornelia's going to pick them up, and then they flew back to Connecticut yesterday. I was amazed at how well Cornelia handled it all, Connor said. Usually people freak out when they learn about other dimensions, but she barely flinched. Bree forced a smile and nodded. She hadn't been completely honest with Connor. He knew Bree was in Connecticut when she learned Emmerich had been kidnapped, and he knew Cornelia had generously offered to fly Bree to Germany so that they could help Emmerich's mother look for him. And he knew that they happened to be in Neuschwanstein Castle when Uncle Lloyd brought Emmerich back from the other world. However, Connor had been so overwhelmed by Alex's disappearance that Bree thought it was best to leave out the other details. She never mentioned why she had gone to visit her family in Connecticut, that she discovered they were part of a secret league known as the Sisters Grimm, or their extensive history of tracking portals into the fairy tale world. Bree hoped a better time would present itself to fill Connor in, but the longer that Alex was gone, the more inappropriate it became. At Cornelia's age, there's not a whole lot that shocks her, Bree said. In fact, when you get a minute, I'd love to tell you more about my trip to her. Bree was interrupted by a sound of footsteps coming from the hallway behind them. A moment later, Troll Bella appeared in the doorway of the missing bathroom. The young troll queen immediately crossed her arms and scowled at the sight of Bree and Connor in the same location. Well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't keep her away from your man, Troll Bella quipped. Connor rolled his eyes. What do you want, Troll Bella? Well, I came to let you know that Beansprout, the Frog Mistress, and Plucky McGee have returned, she said. Who? Bree asked. She means Jack, Red, and Lester are back from the fairy tale world, Connor said, and quickly jumped to his feet. Maybe they know something about Alex. Troll Bella, will you let my mom and Bob know? They're working the night shift on the 3rd floor. I am not your errand girl, Butterboy, Troll Bella said. There are no more favors between us until you're ready to commit. Fine, Connor said. Bree, will you please go tell Mom about... Fine, I'll fetch my butter-in-laws, Troll Bella said. But please stop begging. I hate seeing how vulnerable you've become with me. Connor and Bree ran down the hall toward the commissary as Troll Bella fetched Charlotte and Bob. They found all their friends from Oz, Neverland, Sherwood Forest, the Land of Stories, and Connor's short stories, The Adventures of Blip-Boy, the Ziblings, and the Galaxy Queen, huddled around Jack and Red. The only ones who weren't paying attention to their arrival were the pirates from Starboardia, who never looked away from the television. Are they still watching that ditzy woman? Red asked. The other world may be advanced, but it sure leads to some awful habits. Well, Connor asked, getting straight to the point, did you find my sister? Jack slowly shook his head. No, he said. We looked at all the places we thought she would be. The ruins of the fairy palace, the giant's castle in the sky, the clock tower of the charming palace, but we didn't find a trace of her. The news was so disappointing that Connor had to sit down. If Alex wasn't in the fairy tale world, he didn't know where else to look. His train of thought shifted from place to place, thinking of where she might be, worrying she'd never be found. I'm sorry you didn't find Alex, but I'm so glad you're back, Jack told Goldilocks as she cradled their newborn son. It's a miracle you weren't spotted, even at Lester's heights. Jack went to his wife's side and kissed Hero on the forehead. Red gave Goldilocks a large hug from behind, as if the sentiment were meant for her. Goldilocks, you're back on your feet, Red pointed out. Is it safe for you to be walking again so soon after giving birth? Red, I had a baby, not a whale, Goldilocks said. How's the fairy tale world? Are the conditions any better? It's exactly as we left it, Jack told the room. The citizens from all the kingdoms are still being held in Swan Lake as if they're not building monuments to the emperors. The literary army is lined up on the lawns of the Northern Palace, but all they do is march all day as if they're waiting for something to happen. Well, it sounds like they're preparing for battle, Goldilocks said. They couldn't be expecting us, could they? Well, I imagine it's just a scare tactic to keep the citizens from rebelling, Jack said. They still haven't discovered the royal families in the abandoned mine, so I doubt they've even caught wind of us. How could they? And the others in the mine, are they still made of stone? Goldilocks asked. Yeah, unfortunately so, Jack said. Same goes for the Fairy Council. Oh, it was a terrible sight, Red said, and shuddered at the thought. All of their faces were like frozen in the most unattractive expressions of terror. If someone turns me into stone, I hope they have the decency to tell me something amusing beforehand. And what about the creature that did it? The Tin Woodsman asked. Was there any sign of who or what it is? They wouldn't be here if they had seen it, Bluebow said, and recalled the terrifying moments he had spent in its presence. All it took was one glance, and boom! Everyone was stiff as a rock. I wouldn't be here if my eyes hadn't been closed. Commander Neuters gulped and fearfully and turned to Connor. There are creatures that turn others into stone in the land of stories, he asked. It didn't come from the fairy tale world, Connor said. It must have been a character my uncle recruited using the portal potion. I don't know which story it's from. Does it have to be from literature? Beau Rogers asked. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you were talking about Medusa from Greek mythology. What's a Medusa? Peter Pan asked. She's a horrible monster, Beau Rogers animatedly replied. Legend says she has long, scaly body, fangs, and snakes for hair. Just one gaze into her red eyes, and you'll turn into a statue. The Lost Boys covered their eyes, ears, and mouths at the young archaeologist's frightening description. The Blissworm clapped its tiny hands together, anxious to meet her. Don't worry, lads, Robin Hood said. I've courted many a maiden who turned out to be far worse. With just a few verses of a romantic poem, she will be putty in my hands. The Prince of Thieves didn't make anyone feel better about the situation, especially Connor. He got to his feet and started pacing the room. A very difficult decision had to be made, and Connor couldn't delay a moment longer. We can't waste any more time, he said. Tomorrow we're going to fight the literary army and reclaim the fairy tale world, and I never thought we'd have to do it without my sister, but we can't let the people suffer any longer. Poor Alex, Red said. There have been so many times I've disappeared for some me time, but I always returned after a couple of hours. I just hope she'll resurface in time to help us. She put so much work into recruiting the army. It would be a shame if she missed it. And she missed the war completely. Suddenly, Goldilocks' face lit up with an idea. Red's nonsense always had a funny way of putting things into perspective for her. Hold your horses, Goldilocks said. Which horses? The Tin Woodsman asked. No. It's a figure of speech, Goldilocks said, and she got back to her point. We've all been looking at the literary army and Alex's disappearance like they're separate situations. But what if they're more related than we think? After all, we are at war. What if a war Alex is a key player in? It's very possible someone's using Alex to sabotage us. Perhaps it's time we stop asking where Alex went and start asking who took her. Of all the directions Connor's mind had gone in the last week, this was a conclusion he'd never come to. His sister was so powerful and strong-minded, it was hard to imagine someone could abduct her from the hospital without anyone noticing, especially someone from the literary army. They couldn't have taken Alex, Connor said. Even if the literary army knew we existed, they have no way of accessing the other world. Besides, I think if one of us would have noticed if a card soldier or a flying monkey were around here. I didn't say it was the literary army, Goldilocks said. In times of conflict, there's always an enemy you know and the enemy you don't. The literary army may be who we're up against, but there's a third party we're forgetting to consider. Who else would benefit if either of the armies was defeated? The whole commissary went quiet and all the characters thought it over. It was highly likely that they were leaving someone out of their equation, but who could it be? Who or what was just as invested in the upcoming war as they were? Who at the very moment was also assembling in secret and forming plans to dominate the fairy tale world? The answer hit Bree like a bolt of lightning. The realization made her gasp so loudly that all the characters jumped. I know, she exclaimed. We're forgetting about the witches. We know that they have access to the other world because one of them kidnapped Emmerich using the portal in Neuschwanstein Castle. Hey, I think you're onto something, Jack said. Connor, do you remember the night that we followed the masked man to the witches' brew? The witches were meeting because they were afraid they'd get blamed for the missing children. They were paranoid and a witch hunt was coming. They're very likely beginning a plot to take over the fairy tale world as a way to protect themselves. The masked man invaded with the literary army, Goldilocks said. The witches probably kidnapped Emmerich so that they would have leverage against your uncle. So maybe they plan to use Alex as leverage against us. Of course the witches are up to something vile, Red said. I mean, they're witches. Hello. I wouldn't be surprised if that goat who took Charlie has something to do with it. The Lost Boys and I found missing children in her basement. Marina probably kidnapped them to purposely stir up paranoia in the witch community so that they had a reason to plot a takeover. I bet she's behind the whole thing. Everyone froze and looked at Red in shock. If she was correct, it was a little unsettling how easy it was for her to figure out Marina's intentions. Don't look at me like that, Red said. It takes a conniving genius to know a conniving genius. Obviously, there's a type of woman that Charlie's attracted to. But how could the witches know we were planning to defeat the literary army? How do they know we're a threat? Connor asked. Bree looked at him like the answer was obvious. Connor, they figured out Emmerich was your cousin before you or your uncle did, she reminded him. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard for a witch to look into a crystal ball and figure out what we're doing with a bunch of interdimensional beings inside of a hospital. Unfortunately, it made sense. A witch could easily have crossed into the other world and snuck into the hospital without being detected. They could have used magic to overpower Alex and take her back to the fairy tale world as a hostage. Connor had prayed for a clear answer all week, but he had never guessed how much it would complicate matters. All right, let's lay everything out on the table before we go any further, he said. Which table? The Tin Woodman said. The Tin Woodsman asked. Also a figure of speech, Connor said. Not only do we have to liberate the fairy tale world from the scariest villains in literature and slay a mythological creature before she turns us all into a stone, but we also have to defeat an evil coven of witches before they use my sister against us? All the characters in the commissary shared glances with wide and timid eyes. The Blissworm cheered. It couldn't wait for the battle to begin. I know what you're all thinking, Connor said. This is a much different fight than you signed up for. If the witches are involved, then we're easily outnumbered, especially if they have my sister. I was confident we would defeat the literary army, but I'm not sure we can win this war. Connor rubbed his hands together, desperately trying to think of a way to get the odds back in their favor. Jack had a seat beside him and placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. For once, I'm with the Blissworm, Jack said. We've seen a lot of We've seen a lot of scary situations over the years, but we've always gotten through them together. Yes, there were many times when a little of your sister's magic went a long way, but we would never have pulled through if it weren't for both of you. Now, look around, Connor. You're surrounded by an army of your imagination. That means there's a piece of you inside each and every one of them, and even if it's just a fraction of your bravery, your aptitude, or your wit, I know those bastards won't stand a chance against us. It was exactly the pep talk that Connor needed to hear. It also inspired all the characters in the commissary. Jack's words even made the pirates of Starboardia look up from the television for the first time in days. It'll be dangerous, Connor said. We love danger, the Lost Boys shouted. Some of us might get hurt, Connor added. Speak for yourself, the Cyborg Queen said. I can adjust feelings in settings. And regardless of what happens at the end of the day, we'll all be heroes, Bolt said and flipped through the air. Connor couldn't help but smile at his character's willingness to help him. He never thought his own creations would inspire him so much. All right, he said. It's going to be a challenge, but we can do this. Tomorrow morning, we're going to go into the fairy tale world, and we're going to kick some literary, mythological, witchy butt. All the characters cheered. The Blissworm was happy they were all finally on the same page. Did you hear that, men? Robin Hood said. We're on the eve of war. We shall follow the sorcerer valiantly into battle, and we will be showered with riches after our victory. Robin, no one's getting paid, Connor said. Oh, Robin Hood said, then we shall be showered with compliments for our good intentions. After all, praise is the currency of bravery. Suddenly the doors opened and Bob and Charlotte rushed into the commissary. They were flushed and out of breath as if they'd run the whole way there. A moment later, Trollbella entered behind them. They'd moved so fast that she couldn't keep up. Mom, I've got good news and I've got bad news, Connor said. The bad news is Jack and Red didn't find Alice, but the good news is we know where your sister is, Charlotte panted. Connor couldn't believe his ears. You, what? Turn on the news, Bob told the pirates. Channel 4, hurry. But Ricky just let Lucy perform in his club, Auburn Sally said. Change the channel, the entire room yelled in unison. The pirates reluctantly changed the channel and everyone gathered around the television to watch the news. A reporter appeared on the screen broadcasting live from somewhere in New York City. I'm standing on the corner of 39th Street and 5th Avenue in Manhattan, where the police have stopped all vehicles and pedestrians from going any further, the reporter said. The NYPD are preventing everyone from entering a 2-block radius around the main branch of the New York Public Library. Police officials have yet to state a reason for such precautions, but one thing is certain, something dangerous is happening at the library. The news station played shaky footage from a helicopter flying over the library. It was difficult to see anything except for the red and blue police lights surrounding the buildings on all sides. This isn't the first peculiar incident in the area this week, the reporter continued. As I mentioned earlier, just a few days ago, the wreckage of a bathroom mysteriously appeared in the middle of Bryant Park, just behind the library. The dumpsters have yet to be identified. Did she just say she discovered a bathroom? Connor asked. We rushed here as soon as we heard, Charlotte said. We just learned the police have begun excavating the We've just learned that the police have begun evacuating all the residents in the area as well, the reporter said. As I said, very little information is being shared at this time, but according to eyewitness reports, the iconic lion statues of the library's entrance have been vandalized. The helicopter footage showed a close-up of the library's sprawling front steps. Once the camera refocused, everyone could see that the lion statues were absent from their perches. Instead, they could be seen standing right in front of the library's entrance as if the beasts were guarding the front doors. For a split second, it almost looked like the statues were moving. Did you see that? The reporter asked. It appears the statues are being manipulated somehow. The one on the right looks like it's growling at the approaching police. Oh my, the lion statue has just knocked the officer to the ground. The police are retreating. I've never seen anything like this. If I didn't know any better, I'd say we were witnessing magic. Connor went pale and looked at his friends in disbelief. Oh my God, he said. We've got to get to New York City. This man I love this man. This is such a good book series. It's so good. It's so good. He's just too good. Bye, Grace. Best of luck. She was speechless. It's true. Speechless. All right. So that is chapter 1 and 2. We did 2 because the first one was so short. They're amazing, as always. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If anyone doesn't know, my book, The Prince of Oregon, is out and available right now. All the places. If you're on Patreon, expect more slime posts throughout the day. Slime videos throughout the day. I know, same. I was not a Gleek at all, but Chris Coffer is... I did write a book. It's called The Prince of Oregon. I hope you love it. Maybe we'll get lucky and some books will randomly be delivered today, even though they're not due until tomorrow. Who knows? Ooh, potluck and board game day. That's amazing. All right. I will see you all later. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.